there, thanks for joining me. I'm Charlotte Reeves from Learn Pet Photography, and I have an editing quick tip to share with you guys. So have you ever taken a photo where you've been shooting with backlight and you've tried to avoid it, but unfortunately a little bit of flare has snuck in, and flare is caused by direct sunlight hitting the end of your lens, and if you're shooting directly towards the sun, it can happen pretty easily. So even though I'm well aware of what causes it, it still does occasionally happen to me. And this image here is a pretty good example of the sort of image that you end up with when you've had that sort of flaring issue. Now the problem with this flaring is that you end up with a red cast to the image, and it's most often found in the shadows, and it's kind of tricky to get rid of. Lightroom doesn't have an easy way of doing it, so I often take the image into Photoshop to get rid of this, and there's a really simple little trick that I'd like to share with you. I do it using the levels adjustment layer, so you can either go in here and create a levels adjustment layer like this, or you can just press Command L on the keyboard and it will just bring up that adjustment layer. So what we're going to do is actually look in the individual color channels of the image. So let's have a look. It's an RGB image, so we've got a red, a green, and a blue color channel. Now, if we look in the red color channel, we'll see there's actually not really that much information down here in the shadow side of the histogram. And also the same with green, there's a big gap down here. So you've got little sliders underneath the histogram here. So I want you to grab the left-hand slider and pull it about halfway between the start and the finish of that area where there's no color information. So however much that ends up being, let's just say 46. Now to counteract that, you need to grab the middle slider and pull that back towards the left-hand slider, half the value of 46. So this would be 23. So I'm going to take this slider across to the left until it's 1.23, 23 being half of 46. So if I do the preview on and off, and have a look in these areas in here, in particular in Torben's fur, it's quite dark. And when I untick preview, so when we look at the original, you'll notice there's a really red kind of color cast in there, and also in some areas of the background up here. So that's with the adjustment and without. Now we had the same sort of thing in the green color channel, so I'm going to do the same here. I'm going to pull the slider across about halfway, let's say 14. And then I'm going to make this 1.07, 7 being half of 14. So now when I turn this on and off and have a look in the shadowed areas in particular, you'll see that it's just cleaned up that red color cast. I haven't lost any of the brightness and the warmth of the image because it is a very warm image and I don't want to lose that, but it has just helped to clean it up a little. If I wanted to go further with that, I could actually take this slider a little bit further over. You notice the further that I take it over, the more it gets rid of that red cast. And if you really don't like it, you can take it over a little bit further. But also have a play with this center slider too. So you can go by the calculation method, so taking note of the number that you take the left slider over and then halving that and making it 1 point that. Very mathematical and perhaps a little bit confusing. Or you can just have a little bit of a play around with the sliders until you get the kind of effect visually that you're after. So if I went for something like that, that's the before and that's the after. See how it just really cleans the image up. If I were to do that same adjustment but do it in an adjustment layer, I'd have the added benefit of being able to adjust the opacity of that layer. So if I decided I'd gone a little bit too far with the adjustment, I could just take the opacity down to say 50% or 80% or whatever I needed to. I'm fairly confident with what I'm doing in Photoshop, so sometimes I just kind of commit straight away and don't keep things in layers. Anyway, I hope that that's helped. If you have any questions about that method or anything else, just let me know and I'll do my best to help out.